I was there the day Jesus was crucified. I was shocked. I wondered, how could this be happening? Just 5 days before on Sunday, I walked to Jerusalem with several friends and family members from our village in the hill country to celebrate the yearly Passover feast. The roads leading to Jerusalem were so full of people. We were finally getting close to the city gates when we heard cheering voices behind us. We turned and saw a man riding on a donkey toward us. People were waving palm branches, a symbol of freedom and victory. Soon we could understand the words of the cheering voices. Hosanna, blessed is he who comes in the name of the Lord. Hosanna, that means save us. Why would people be saying that? As the rider on the donkey came closer to where we stood, I recognized him. He was Jesus, the teacher and healer. Many of us wondered if he could be the Messiah the prophets had mentioned hundreds of years ago. Could this man truly be the one who would take charge and save us? I sure hope so. Hosanna.
I too was with Jesus when all of these things happened. In fact, I traveled with Jesus for 3 years as one of his apostles. My name is Judas. I listened to Jesus teach. I saw him heal people, laughed with him at meals, followed him along the road, and wondered if he was really who so many people thought he was, the Messiah. There were lots of people who thought he was the Son of God, but many of our leaders of our people, the Pharisees, were suspicious of him. They didn't think he was the one we Jews had been waiting for so many years. I didn't know what to think. During those first few days in Jerusalem for the Passover feast, my doubts got the better of me. I knew the Pharisees wanted to get rid of Jesus because they thought he was leading so many people astray. On Wednesday, I went to see them. I offered to be a spy among the apostles. They were willing to pay me 30 pieces of silver. I went back to Jesus and the apostles. But from that moment on, I was always on the right lookout for the opportunity to alert the Pharisees when the time was right to nab Jesus. And now it had come to this. I regret that I ever offered to help the Pharisees. Why did I do it? Jesus is innocent.
I was there when they crucified my Lord. I, too, am one of Jesus' apostles. I am Peter. Last night, Thursday, was a strange night full of astonishing happenings and many questions. The other apostles and I were gathered together with Jesus in an upstairs room here in Jerusalem. We were eating the Passover feast. We remembered the story of our ancestors, the Israelites, leaving Egypt thousands of years ago. While we were eating, Jesus got up from the table and began to wash our dusty feet. Usually a servant did this kind of work. We were shocked to see our Jesus doing this for us. When Jesus got to me, I told him I didn't want him to wash my feet, but Jesus insisted that he do so. When he returned to the table, Jesus started talking about many strange things. He said one of us would betray him. We were stunned. Who could it be? One after another we asked, "Is it I, Lord? Is it I?" John asked Jesus which one of us it would be. Jesus told us it was the person he would share a piece of bread with after he had dipped it in a bowl to scoop up some food. Then Jesus dipped the bread and handed it to Judas, saying, "What you are about to do, do it quickly." Judas got up and left. We all looked at each other, wondering, where was Judas going? After that, we continued eating our meal. Jesus shared bread and wine with us. He told us they were his body and blood that would be given for us. When we finished eating, we got up and walked to a garden outside the city walls. The Garden of Gethsemane. It was full of olive trees. While walking there, Jesus told us we would all run away from him that night. Why would he say that? Why would we do that? I told Jesus I would never desert him. Jesus looked me straight in the eyes and sadly said, "This night, before the rooster crows, you deny knowing me 3 times. I couldn't believe what he was saying, but it happened.
I'm the Apostle James. I was with Jesus and the others Thursday night when we went to the Garden of Gethsemane. It was dark. Jesus wanted to pray. He told the other apostles to stay in one area, then took John, Peter, and me a little farther into the garden. Jesus became very troubled and told us to keep watch while he went even farther into the garden to pray by himself. We sat there for a while and began to feel sleepy. We must have dozed off because Jesus came back to us and asked us again to keep watch, but we fell asleep once more. The next thing we knew, Jesus was telling us to get up. We saw people all around us. They didn't look happy. Judas was with them. Judas walked up to Jesus and greeted him in the way friends greet one another, with a kiss. Immediately, the crowd seized Jesus. We were all so afraid. What was happening? I'm embarrassed to say we all ran away, just like Jesus said we would.
Early Friday morning, the Jewish leaders brought Jesus to me. I am Pilate, the Roman governor in this region. When the Jewish leaders brought Jesus to me, I told them to punish Jesus according to their own laws, but they said they weren't allowed to put anyone to death. The leaders told me Jesus had been stirring up trouble among the people, saying he was a king. But when I questioned Jesus about this, I found nothing wrong with him. I decided to release him. The Jewish leaders didn't want that. They wanted something worse. As I was trying to figure out what to do, my wife's servant came to me with a message from her. Do not have anything to do with this man, because he is innocent. What was I to do? I decided to offer the Jews a choice. During their Passover week each year, as an act of goodwill, I would release a Jewish criminal from the Roman jail. To my surprise, they said they wanted Barabbas released. I asked what they wanted me to do with Jesus. They shouted over and over, "Crucify him! Crucify him!" Crucify him? That was a punishment reserved for the worst criminals. The crowd was getting more and more angry. I decided to give the people what they wanted, but right in front of them, I washed my hands and told them I wouldn't be responsible for his death. I released Barabbas from jail and handed Jesus over to my soldiers.
Were you there when they nailed him to the cross? Were you there when they nailed him to the cross? Oh, sometimes
was there. I am one of the Roman soldiers who led Jesus away from Pilate. We brought him to our compound and punished him as we would any criminal. The Jews said he claimed to be a king, so we put a royal robe on him. He needed a crown, so we found some thorny branches nearby and twisted them into a circle and put it on his head. We mocked him, saying, "Hail, King of the Jews!" Then we led him away to be crucified.
I was there along a street in Jerusalem as the Roman soldiers led Jesus to the place of crucifixion. There was a man standing next to me named Simon. He came from Cyrene to celebrate the Passover in Jerusalem. We both have been here before many times, but this time everything is different. People have been upset about this man Jesus. Some think he is the Messiah, but the Jewish leaders don't think so. Early Friday morning, I was walking through Jerusalem when I noticed a crowd gathering. I stopped to see what was going on. I saw a man escorted by Roman guards. He was stumbling down the street. He was covered in blood, and there were open wounds on his neck. He was carrying a thick beam of wood. As the man neared us, his strength ran out. One of the soldiers grabbed Simon and told him to help Jesus carry the wooden beam. Simon knew he had to obey. The beam was heavy. Simon helped Jesus carry the wooden beam through the streets. They went out of the city gate to the place called Golgotha.
I was there when Jesus was crucified on Friday. I am John, one of Jesus' closest apostles. The events of that week confused and frightened me. I couldn't believe that what had started out so joyously on Sunday now ended so horribly, with Jesus being crucified as a criminal. I couldn't imagine how strong the pain was when the soldiers nailed his wrists and ankles to the wooden beams. I stood there for 6 hours with Jesus' mother, Mary. Jesus spoke to me from the cross. He noticed I was standing next to his mother. He told me to take care of her. The cross was located on a small hill outside the city gates. It was right next to the main road into the city. Many people walked by. Some of them shielded their eyes and didn't want to look at him. Others, however, came to mock him, to yell at him, to tell him to prove he was the Son of God. About the middle of the day, a strange thing happened. The sky began to darken. Jesus spoke to God, wondering how God could forsake him this way. Someone used a reed to extend a sponge soaked with vinegar to him because he was thirsty. As the afternoon wore on, the sky became darker and darker. Suddenly, Jesus cried out in a loud voice, "Father, into your hands I commit my spirit," and exhaled his last breath. Please kneel for a moment of silence. At that moment, I felt the earth begin to tremble and shake. I saw rocks split into pieces. I heard the Roman centurion say, "Truly, this was the Son of God." Please be seated.
Were you there when they laid him in the tomb? Were you there when they laid him in the tomb? Oh, sometimes it causes me to tremble, tremble. Were you there when they laid him in the tomb?
I was there when Jesus was laid in the tomb. It was my own tomb. I am Joseph of Arimathea. After Jesus died, I went to Pilate and asked if I could have Jesus' body. I didn't want his body to be hanging on the cross during the Sabbath. Pilate granted me permission. My friend Nicodemus helped me take Jesus' body down. We wrapped Jesus in a piece of linen and brought him to my tomb that was nearby. The tomb was a small cave cut out of the rock in the side of a hill. It was getting to be late in the day, almost sundown. At sundown, the Sabbath would begin. So we placed the body on a stone bench in the tomb and rolled a stone in front of the opening. As we continue our personal journey towards Easter, let us keep in mind the cross that Jesus carried because he loved us.